Welcome to Andy's Personal Development, the place for transactional conversations. During these conversations, we'll discover intentionality and clarity, and of course, purpose. Now, here is your host, Andy Anderson Charles. Hey, my beautiful people, and welcome. This is Andy of Andy's Personal Development, and this is the very first episode of season 5 of our podcast. We are now entitled Transactional Conversations. And believe me, this conversation is going to have some nuggets that you can take away, some values for the new year. Happy New Year to you, wherever you are, those who are going to be live and those who will be viewing this podcast later on. We will continue to provide you with content and quality that would make a difference in your life and bring you to a place where you can get intentionality, quality, and purpose. So, without further ado, let me just give you a little look at our guest before we actually introduce her to the stream. Stand by for this. So, as you can see, our guest is Rhonda Parker Taylor, and this episode is entitled Finding Joy in This Crazy World with Rhonda Parker Taylor. For the purpose of this podcast, I will just address her as Rhonda. So let me tell you a bit about our guest. It's very intriguing, trust me. She is an American writer, entrepreneur, and academic researcher. She was born in Noblesville, Indiana, and is the second youngest of 5 children to Anita and William Parker, founders of a steel manufacturing company. Rhonda's childhood was spent in the midst of cornfields and cows, attending Heritage Christian School in Indianapolis. And after completing a fashion merchandising program at Bowder College in Allenton, Texas, Rhonda returned to Indiana, where she eventually found her passion for writing. Her debut novel is entitled Crossroads, a suspenseful masterpiece which was released in February of 2023. And guess what? It was endorsed by best-selling author J.J. Herbert and Golden Globe nominated actress Mariel Hemingway. And the novel has been hailed as a captivating crime thriller that keeps readers intrigued from start to finish. Let's see if we can do that with this podcast as we welcome live on Transactional Conversations, Rhonda Parker Taylor. Welcome, Rhonda. How are you?
Thank you. And thank you for such a wonderful introduction. And Happy New Year's, everybody out there. A lot of us, since this is out there live, all those in Noblesville, hey, I can't wait to see you again. I was just there just before Christmas. And as we talk today, I think we'll all see that smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. That's an proverb that if we don't, and the meaning of it is everything we're going to be talking about, which is challenge yourself. Make sure you're practicing resilience and make sure you're getting the experience, because with those 3 things, as the African proverb says, are powerful ways to make sure your dreams come true too. Thank you.
I love that.
And I can't wait to get started.
I love that. She has so much passion and such a fresh and engaging spirit and personality. We thank you, Rhonda, and we welcome you. We appreciate you. And I love that. Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. Wow, I love that. So let me just tell people a bit about what I have read, and then we'll get into your opinion, your experience, and your passion, and what inspired you to actually create this novel. Now, Crossroads is a suspense thriller novel by Rhonda Parker Taylor, a journey of Paris Pennington's life being turned upside down. And it takes readers on a journey through the turbulent life of Paris Pennington, Paris is a dedicated workaholic whose world is suddenly thrown into chaos as she confronts adversity. Her life begins to unravel, and a series of traffic events pick apart the one solid fabric of her existence. Wow, that alone is extremely intriguing. So, Rhonda, here's the question: what inspired you to write Crosswords? And how does the story, if any way, connect to your own life experiences?
Well, Crossroads is a art of passion for me. And I really wanted to accomplish it. So for me, I had learning challenges in the English language, believe it or not. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had mentors all of my life that helped me navigate and improve. And that's one of the beauties of personal development is when you dedicate yourself, then you will accomplish what you set out to do, especially if you include mentors, teachers, people, that you network with to assist you. So Crossroads, at first, when I started it, I thought it was going to be the journey of showing the legal system in the United States and how unjust it could be. I thought that was going to be the full meat and potatoes of the story. But as I started writing and developing the characters, I realized I was putting tidbits of things, lessons that I saw people go through. And every single one of the characters I made out of balance with life. So for instance, you mentioned Paris Pennington. She was a workaholic. So when she gets called to jury duty, it's very difficult. Have you ever met a workaholic and tried to throw something new in their schedule? They
yeah.
you might as well meet Heat Miser from the cartoon where the hair goes up and you're excited, the excitement of anger. And so she doesn't want to be there because she has to work. But then you have others that have equally challenging life balance issues. You have Dave, the prosecutor. And what he has is he has a dedication to law and order. How many times do we hear that? We have to do what the government says. We have to be perfect. We have to follow the law. And so his problem is it's not that he's not having a successful career, because many people think life balance is only about home and career. He has
Hmm.
no life outside of his job.
Yeah.
So he's missing passion, relationships, connections. And then you have Billy Knuckles. And yes, that is the name, Billy Knuckles. And I
Yes. Yes.
refer to him as Knucklehead sometimes because his dedication and his life balance is he believes in his friends and he's dedicated to his friends. And so what ends up happening is he gets in the wrong place at the wrong time and he's out of balance, and now he's a co-defendant for a murder. Does he turn on his friend or does he take the charge with him? So anytime that we're not practicing that personal development, that authentic self and living it with intentionality, the lessons learned in Crossroads is things can happen to you
Hmm.
that you don't intend to happen to you when you're out of balance. So
Right.
the whole book is about not only the crime thriller, the Agatha Christie clue of who did what and why, but also what happens when we personally are out of balance with our intentions in life.
Wow. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Rhonda. That is really intriguing stuff, folks. So I'm just going to put up on the screen what her publication looks like. And I want you to tell us what is the inspiration behind the cover.
Oh, the cover is one of the most important things to a book.
That's right.
So, because it really tries to give a visualization. So, the background city is Indianapolis. So, the foundation of
Hmm.
the entire book is Indianapolis. And I want people to feel the city because it's not a city that a lot of people visited to. So, it
Okay.
has sites like the Monument Circle. It has Holiday Park. It has the city county building. It has um, the mayor's office and what it looks like. And then it also has the dead body. It's dropped on 38th and Guyan, which is on the railroad tracks behind Lafayette Square. But it's a little bit more than that. The title, Crossroads. We all reach a crossroads. And one of the reasons
Mm.
that Meryl Hemingway endorsed it is because she related to the fact that when we hit a crossroads in our life, we have to make a decision. And that decision can determine the rest of your life, or at least the next season. You're hitting a crossroads with your podcast right now. You're hitting season 5. You have to make decisions on which way you're going to go. What are your topics? What guests are you going to have on the show? Well,
Yeah.
in life, when you make those decisions, they can be life and death.
Yes.
Symbolic for the fact that, our decisions in our lives really meet crossroads all the time. And then the fact that Indiana is in the middle of the United States and is known as the crossroads of America is another reason, which is
Ah,
bound by the railroad tracks. Every main railroad goes through Indiana. If you're going from Chicago to the southern part of the United States, you have to go through Indiana. If you're going from New York to California, you go through Indiana. And so all the crossroads are paired together, and that's how the concept of the cover was founded.
all right. This gets more and more intriguing. Thank you. I like that analogy of looking at the crossroads in your life, and we do meet and reach crossroads in our lives. And how we move from there determines in so many different ways and so many assets or facets of our lives how we get to the next crossroad because there are always going to be crossroads. And I get that from you. And I think it's really wonderful and engaging. And thank you so much for being so fluid and detailed with regards to the publication. So I'm just going to take it off the screen a bit so we can focus a little bit more. What has the response been, Rhonda, since you have published this publication? What is the feedback that you have been getting from people who have engaged in reading your publication?
It's been across a bunch of different spectrums. Let's start with one of the main ones, which is
Yeah,
Meryl
sure. Hmm.
Hemingway. For the
Hmm.
younger people out there, you may not know who she is. You may. She's the granddaughter of Ernest Hemingway, the
Yeah.
great author, and she's also an winning actress. And like I said, one of the reasons that she believed in Crossroads is because it's about life balance. But
Hmm.
my first review was from her.
Yeah.
It came in a form of a YouTube video. It's called Meryl Hemingway Praises Rhonda Parker Taylor. It's Crossroads. And in the end, she gave a little nugget. She goes through why crossroads are so important to us and how it's been part of her life too. And then she said, we come to a point where we have to realize that even chocolate has an expiration date. And and I tell you, I had chills up and down my spine. And since that time, I swear I was the first 1,000 views on it because I couldn't stop listening to it. It's like I can't believe that this wonderful known person liked my work. But then it gets better than that, and you would
Hmm.
think, hey, it doesn't get any better than that. Every time I do a book signing,
Ah.
time I hear from someone that's read the book or thinking about the book or maybe even just curious about it, they have a little tidbit that helps, like they may even ask, what's your next novel going to be about, and then I tell them that. Or they can say, it made me reflect on my own life. What are we going to do next? How can I improve my life? Others may have said, hey, I'm ready for your next one. What happened to, Dave and Paris, the main characters? And I can tell them that another one's coming out. But what I love about the engagement with people, especially when I'm in a bookstore, is everybody's after the same mission when they're reading a book. They're there for their next greatest, novel, adventure, whatever it might be that they're seeking, that takes them from their day to day to another world temporarily that they can navigate. And so that's why I really I thought I would enjoy the signings and meeting people and talking to people about it, but now it's become my own addiction. It's become my addiction to come on podcasts like Life Coach and Transformational Speaker podcast, because what I like to do is engage that, hey, there's a message out here that people can really relate to. And that is, my life matters and how I navigate it is important.
Wow, I love that. Even chocolate has an expiry date.
I had to
That
look
is so
at this.
that is so original.
Yes.
Wow. So folks, you've been listening to Rhonda Parker Taylor, the author of Crossroads, episode entitled Finding Joy in This Crazy World. And I'm going to surprise Rhonda a bit by helping her to truly redefine again the reason why she wrote this amazing novel. So stand by for this.
Really wanted to write a best-selling novel because I loved reading. But at the same time, my trade is education and development and human resources and all those soft skills. And I'm like, wouldn't it be grand to write a best-selling novel that actually could take the fiction characters and make them case studies for how we approach our world? And so I sat down one day and I started kind of.
Yeah. You know, this is what I find most intriguing about it. I have never heard, and I have interviewed hundreds of people. I've been interviewed a lot of times. I too am a number one best-selling Amazon author. And what I find intriguing is that you wanted your characters to be actual case studies. I never heard anyone explain it quite like that, Rhonda. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A journey to life. Wow, wonderful. Where did you get that inspiration and that concept, and how did you find that desire to incorporate it into the actual finished product, the actual conclusion of your writing?
Well, I had written the novel. And one
Mm-hmm.
of my personal practices that I've done since I was in my 20s is I was to do a life balance assessment of myself. I would literally go get every help book out there, put them in my car, and go on the 24-hour drive from Indianapolis to the West Coast. And I would do them on my own and say, okay, where is your joy? How do you have happiness? And I would literally scan myself for it. So then I started doing it with my classes as a college professor. I'd have them do the exercises that I created from all of these different self-help books.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, as I was writing Crossroads, I was like, oh my goodness, this would be wonderful to do each character out of balance with their lives and
Mm-hmm.
have it as a case study, and then turn around and then do the workbook that I've been doing with my students for years on the 13 dimensions of life and how to find joy, and pull it all together and say, okay, this is what we can do for ourselves. And when you do that, when you really focus on your own joy and be intentional, something small, for instance, like opening up your blinds and looking outside your home, can bring you joy in the middle of a chaotic day. Because you start your morning and you open the blinds, you look at the sun or even the rain or this, and right now we're in the snow, and the winter does come, But guess what? Spring is to follow. So when you
Yes.
open those blinds, you look out and you might see wildlife. And you see me looking at my blinds right now. You can see the wildlife out there. It might be a squirrel. It might be a mouse. It might be a fox. It might be a stray dog. It may be beautiful flowers coming up in the spring, but it brings you into the moment and outside of the trials that you're going to have every single day. And so you build those intentional models in every 13 dimensions. I'll name a few for like there's spiritual connection, there's your physical health. My husband one day said, "You're going to turn into a chair if you don't stand up more." And, I bought the Veridesk, and guess what? I really didn't use it at first. And then I went to the back doctor, and he said, "You have peripheral." And I was,
Mm.
"What's peripheral?"
Uh-huh.
And so I had to go home and use Google, of course, and it says your glutes wasting away. Now, who wants to be told that your butt is wasting away? He was right. I was
Yeah.
turning into a chair. So you put these intentional steps, standing up, doing things that are important, not only for your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your social connections, whether it be your significant other, your great aunt, and you make a plan just like you do for your career of your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals of what you want to do with each one of those areas. And then all you do is do it. And it sounds so easy, but we make excuses not to eat our blueberries. We make excuses why not to stand. We make excuses why we sit and watch television when really we love music more.
Wow.
It's just easy to
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah,
on,
yeah.
sit down, say, "Oh, I'm relaxing." But maybe you find more joy in cooking. But
Mm.
you made the excuse already. "I'm not cooking tonight because I want to relax." Okay, which
Yeah.
is the where you're going to get the joy.
Mm. Wow. I love, Rhonda, the holistic approach that you bring to finding joy. And you alluded to so many different things, especially the flora and the fauna of nature, natural stuff that we don't have to pay for. It's all out there. Just pull your blinds, open your window, take a walk outside, and just do something different, something unusual. Just, you know, be a human being instead of being somebody else's doing, by being influenced by social media, by influence of the television. Listen to some music and do something with your hands. Do something crafty. Do something original. I love it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
I got a great saying for that. As the
Hmm.
iron sharpen iron,
Yeah.
so one person must sharpen another. So when
Ah.
you're out there and you sharpen yourself and sharpen others, you're growing, you're improving, and that self-improvement helps others too.
Yeah. I love it. On that note, we'll just take a break for 27 seconds. We'll give Rhonda some time to catch her breath, as she's been feeding us some wonderful nuggets. And we're going to hear from our friends at findradioguest.com, the place to click for your publications. If you're a podcast host, you want information on other podcasts, you want to be a guest, check findradioguest.com. 27 seconds coming up right now. FindRadioGuest.com, the place to click to find guests to interview for free. And if you're a radio show booker, podcaster, talk show host, or television producer, then this is the place to get podcasts and radio interviews or promote your books and products as a guest expert sponsor. FindRadioGuest.com. Check it out. Wow. Thank you, our friends at FindRadioGuest.com. Check them out anytime. They're all over the social media map. So, Rhonda, how can people align some of their personal values from reading and being engaged in your publication?
Well, the first thing is, if you like fiction, start with a fiction novel, because
Mm-hmm.
it gets you understanding how things can happen when you're not aligned with it. But if you're just wanting to dive straight into the self-help, first name it. For me, I say close your eyes and do what I call the miracle question. If tomorrow you wake up and everything is perfect, what does that look like? And be honest with yourself. I'm not saying pick the bedroom house with 5 dining rooms that you have to clean and maintain. That's not what I'm saying. If your life was perfect for you, not what somebody else says it should be, what does that look like? And then sit down and see if you're following it. Like, for instance, maybe mine at first, when I did it, I thought I wanted this big, luxurious, home, like I said. But guess what? I don't really want to maintain that house. So I had to be authentic and say, okay, there's only 2 of us in the house at this point. So we only need 2 or 3 bedrooms, in case someone comes and visits. And, I love land. I want to be able to step outside of my own home and be able to see wildlife and nature. And so I went for the bigger property, the three acres, where I can have my own park here, and then say, okay, what am I going to do for my health, my spirituality? And then you build this life that's authentic to you. And it takes away 3 emotions that happen when you're not aligned with yourself, which is also in crossroads: anger, fury, and envy. In today's world, we get angry at people because things
Mm.
aren't going our way. We get furious at people when they tell us that we can't have it. Maybe we've filed for a new car and they said your credit's not good enough yet. And then envy because everybody's life looks perfect. And what they say in Proverbs is anger is cruel. And think about it. When you're angry, your mouth is cruel. You act cruel towards people or even to yourself. Fury is overwhelming. And think about when we're furious, that's when real crimes can happen. You might, you're capable of violence at fury a lot of times, right? And then envy. The final thing that Proverbs says is envy makes the bones rot.
Hmm.
And think about that's like you having your own cancer. If you're not creating your life with the intentions of what you need for you to be happy and find joy in this crazy world, what ends up happening is you're literally, not only are you angry, not only are you fury, but you have envy in your bones that will rot and destroy how you feel about your own life. And so it's important that you take that step of saying, who am I really today? And what do I need today? Every time I do my own journey to life balance, it changes. I might have needed, more social time and, in a season of my life where now maybe I prefer more home time. But, you set it and
Yeah.
you fulfill it, and then you become more joy filled.
Yeah. Deep and reflective. I love it. I really love it. It's really refreshing, Rhonda. Thank you so much for going there and for bringing that sense of intuitive reality into the conversation. I'm sure it will have been palatable for those who are listening and who will listen later on. What insights do you share in your leadership training sessions to help people lead with purpose and intentionality and also authenticity?
Well, one of the biggest things is I want them to realize that emotions and your emotional intelligence and ability to navigate not only your emotions, but other people's emotions
Hmm.
has a lot to do with whether or not you're going to have joy in your life and
Yeah.
whether you're going to be successful. Because teams that practice emotional intelligence, for instance, on a business note, are more successful because they listen and they navigate emotions. Think about anytime there's change in your personal life or your professional life, and you walk into the room and you're getting ready to have this transactional conversation, you think, with some people, which is what this whole season is about. Transactional means you're telling somebody else and you're getting something back from them. Well, what happens
Absolutely.
when you do that is, if you're not navigating the emotions of the other person that you're trying to get this transaction from, and they're not navigating your own emotions, you're going to have some kind of tension. And that tension can either be positive or it can be negative. And it's
Hmm.
important that you navigate those emotions successfully so you can have a synergy that you can move and make problem solving decisions without the tension. Instead, you want it to be a cohesive collaboration that thinks through all thoughts and all mechanisms. And some people might say, oh, that's only for personal. No, think about the professional. If you don't think about what the accountants are worried about and you're in operations, then the accountants are going to be stressed and cutting and trying to, navigate your processes in a different way than you are. Same thing with the marketing people. If your message is that inclusive, and when I use the word inclusive, I'm not just talking about, ethnicity. I'm talking about from all angles:
Hmm.
generational, cultural, different levels of the organization, whatever the decision is. If you're not getting everybody's thoughts, their fears, their emotions about the topic and the decision, it's not going to be successful and nobody's going to have any joy.
Wow. You just took us through a clinic there, Rhonda.
So, sorry, the teacher's coming out.
No, there, and it's refreshing, as I said before. It's also engaging, and you truly landed on the concept of transactional conversations because, first of all, a transaction is something where there's a trade-off, and that trade-off means value for both persons because I exchange my value and then you give something valuable in return. And I love that. So at the end of the day, it's not just for personal, as you say, but it needs to happen in business cycles and business circles as well. And it can transcend and complement both aspects of our lives. So we have a balance. I love it. Wonderful. Thank you for teaching.
Oh, okay. Been doing it for years.
So we just have 2 minutes to go, Rhonda, and I want to put up something here on the screen, but I want you to tell folks what is the most efficient and effective way that they can get you, where they can get a copy of Crossroads, or reach out to you for your services.
I would say the easiest way is to go to rhondaparkertaylor.com, which is my website, which has all of those social media links that you just gave. But I'm on
Okay.
all of them and I'm trying to even expand those. Shoot me an email. There's a link there to send, or there's a link to do that if you're wanting to reach out on a project or so. If you want to get Crossroads, it's on Amazon, BAM, Barnes and Noble, and it is the one. I know all the stores in Indiana have it at the Barnes and Noble, and they are signed copies. I went in and signed all of them because it was within my driving distance. Now we've got about 12 inches of snow. I won't be driving anywhere for a while.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing and for being as engaging as you have been. I would like to just give you the opportunity to say a few parting words that you think would be engaging, that would resonate with the audience, and would somehow help them to get a fair understanding of the positive impact that you actually want to make and the change you want to see in people's life. Yeah?
I would love to. And first of all, anybody that's already been following this podcast or any of my social medias, I want to thank you. I really appreciate it. I don't take you for granted. I know that it's important not only for my success, but I hopefully that the nuggets that I give you out there is important for your success too, because I try to bring you things. But I do want to say life will hit you sometimes. It hits me all the time. And in doing that, if you fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Because if it's meant to be, it's up to you. Don't allow those moments to take away from your joy, your purpose. Take pain to purpose, take your ability to push forward, and then bring out your inner beast when you have to, and get out there and make every day great.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, on that note, folks, we have come to the end of this first edition of season 5, 2025 Transactional Conversations. We have had Rhonda Parker Taylor, and this episode was entitled Finding Joy in This Crazy World with Rhonda Parker Taylor. And I am absolutely convinced, positively assured that you have now engaged in some level of joy and will help you to seek more as we go along. So get the copy of her publication, Crossroads, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. Reach out to her on her website and make that connection. I am sure that you will not regret it. So until next time, this is Andy of Andy's Personal Development, together with my guest, Rhonda Parker Taylor, saying thank you so much for your continued support and your commitment. And remember, the purpose is for you to gain intentionality, clarity, and purpose about your life. So long, stay cool, stay blessed, and bye for now.
Bye, everybody.